This is Saint Papulus.
On this episode of Leslie and Castelnaudary, we're taking a journey through time and perhaps into the beyond as we explore one of Occitanie's most intriguing and quietly majestic towns, Saint Papul. Tucked away in the rolling hills of southern France, just a short drive from Castelnaudary and the Canal du Midi, Saint Papul is more than a picturesque medieval village. It's a place where history breathes through stone walls, where monks once whispered prayers that echoed through cloisters, and where some say the spirits of the past still linger. So grab a cup of something warm and let's step back into time. Founded in the 8th century, this Benedictine abbey gained significance over the centuries, especially when it became an episcopal seat in 1317 by order of Pope John XXII. Imagine that, a humble village suddenly becoming a bishopric. This elevated the abbey's status, bringing wealth, attention, and even conflict. The abbey itself is a marvel of Romanesque architecture with later Gothic touches. Its cloister is serene and adorned with finely carved capitals that tell the biblical and fantastical stories, my personal favorite being the depiction of strange beasts and contorted demons, which hint at both medieval imagination and the battle between good and evil. Inside the Abbey Church, you'll find 14th century frescoes and more recent additions that reflect the long arc of Catholic tradition in the region. And, of course, there's the sarcophagus of Saint Papulus himself. His remains remain venerated by pilgrims for centuries. One of the lesser-known treasures of Saint Papul is its connection to the sculptor Nicolas Bachelier, who worked on the abbey in the 16th century. His work represents a transition between Gothic and Renaissance styles and adds to the abbey's artistic depth. The town has long been a place that inspires artists and thinkers. Perhaps it's the silence, the golden light of the Lauragais plains, or the ever-present whisper of the past in the wind. But let's move on to some mystery. Saint Papul, like many medieval towns, has its share of legends. One is something that I can tell you that was validated by local history. As I wandered the halls, I saw the spirit of a beautiful woman in white robes wandering around, she telling me her story. Locals actually call this the White Lady of the Abbey, who is a spectral figure dressed in pale robes said to wander the churchyard. Some say she was a nun who broke her vows and was condemned to wander the abbey grounds seeking forgiveness. Others say she's not a nun at all, but a noblewoman who once tried to flee a forced marriage by taking refuge at the abbey, only to meet a tragic fate. If you want to know more, definitely stay tuned to an episode of my True Tales playlist, where I tell the story of the spirits of Saint Papul. Now, some say that visitors who sleep near the old abbey report vivid dreams, often about monks or a cloaked man with no face pacing in circles muttering in Latin, but no one knows who he is or what he's looking for. There are even tales that the abbey crypt, which has been sealed off, was once a site of hidden rituals, either by medieval alchemists or local resistance during more modern conflicts, but no one knows for sure. Some people report cold spots and a feeling of being watched when they approach the abbey. Now, I can speak from experience that I myself have experienced some supernatural things here at this abbey, even seeing as many as 30 spirits sitting in the abbey pews. But again, stay tuned for more stories on true tales to know more. Of course, whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's no denying the powerful atmosphere of Saint Papul after sunset, or even just on a quiet stroll. It's the kind that makes your imagination come alive. Visiting sites like this is more than just walking around and looking at craftsmanship and architecture. When I go to sites like this, I like to absorb the atmosphere and see the unseen, the vibrations, the history, the feelings of the people across time, space, and dimension. Of course, you can suit yourself and see with your eyes the sumptuous surroundings of this cathedral, wondering, just like me, who are all these craftsmen, architects, painters, and designers who have come together to build such a sacred site. Churches are more than just prayers and politics. They're about tradition, language, belief systems, cosmology, and the common things that bring us together, like food, friendship, and faith. France has a long history. It has crisis, it has tragedy, and churches have long been centers for people to come together and to work through their feelings during difficult times. As I explore these hallowed halls, I am inspired to think about my own humanity. And there's nothing more dramatic and theatrical than the Catholic Church, with their music and their statues and their frescoes and their painting and their mythology and their sacred interactions. There's something sumptuous about these surroundings, but they also push us to think of more beautiful things. As someone who contemplates the intersection of psychology and spirituality and politics, the church has always played a role in people's lives. Everybody has their own faith, and everybody sees churches in their own way. Some as simply architectural wonders, some as spiritual places to reflect, some to weep, to bury their dead, to marry their loves, to baptize their babies. But for me, I always find going to these sacred sites so interesting because from an energetic level, someone who is a very sensitive person, I can sense more than what meets the eye. Of course, you can feast your eyes on all the interesting things here at Saint Papul, but there is way more to the story. I tell more about my experience at Saint Papul in a True Tales video, but I can tell you, I felt a lot of spiritual energy in this place. Saint Papul was beheaded for practicing his faith, and as a martyr, an abbey and a church was built around his personal sacrifice. And over the years, many monks have come and gone, living and dying in service to their neighbors and to their God. Saint Papul is a monument of the test of time. You can see through the various types of architecture and amendments to the building how time has changed, how people have come and gone, and how life moves on. The cathedral has aged, and it is something to behold, something so old that really captures your imagination. The people here are raising money to keep the church going, to keep the lights on, and to keep people connected. After all, that's what a church is for, to connect people, their bodies, their minds, and their spirits. Saint Papul is an interesting place. It really makes you think about so much. What do you believe in? What is the story of your life? And how do you want to dedicate your life today and going forward? At Saint Papul, they really have something special. There's a little bit of something for everyone. If you like architecture, if you like history, if you like geography, or even the more subtler, more spiritual parts of life, then you'll definitely want to visit Saint Papul. I recommend not just for the history, but the location is so beautiful. Here on a spring day, the weather was just right to take in the creeks, the plants, the breeze, and the sunshine. I like to travel with my family. I love showing my kids new historical places that they've never been before. And there's enough room outside for your kids to goof around. Because if you're not laughing, you're not living. I really like this location because there's something for everybody and all ages. My in-laws like the history, the architecture, and the culture of France. I like it for its spiritual elements. My husband likes it for its natural location, and my kids like to just goof around in the grass. I like this location because there is a little bit of life here still. There's a little garden where they grow plants and herbs for healing purposes and medicinal purposes. And on a Sunday, which is the day we went, it was so quiet and you really can soak it all up without feeling rushed. There is a little gift shop, beverages, and if you have a guide dog, you can bring them too. So check out the haunted site of Saint Papul. Listen to the hollowed halls. But if you don't want to do that, you can always explore the sleepy little village of Saint Papul. Something that I also enjoy is looking at all of the life of a town. You have ancient homes, you have cute cottage style plantations and gardening and little friends waiting for you. It was a beautiful day here in Saint Papul. The locals kept their windows and their doors open to catch the breeze of this region. And it was such a quiet day that our family really could just take it all in. Take a stroll through Saint Papul, make a new friend, see the abbey and the cathedral, and experience something supernatural. And if you're not into ghosts, then just take a look at France's history. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Leslie and Castelnaudary. I'm Leslie Juvin-Acker.